He's maximised his performance for the last 3 races, 1:27.798, 10th.5, just over that between himself and Max Verstappen, and then further back some other of the big stars of the paddock. Did you enjoy that one, Jensen? Naomi, I mean, he's just...
It was great.
It's amazing just to watch him do it, isn't it?
Well, there were so many drivers at the front on the same lap time, basically, and then, boom, Kimi comes, 4/10. Impressive.
Very good in the first sector, he was there, and then Max came back at him, particularly in the second sector. Is it all about the deployment, and what did Mercedes learn? I'm fascinated to know the difference between that and sprint qualifying.
I don't know if it's going to all come down to deployment. I mean, there was obviously something there for them to learn. They were clearly down on McLaren from that perspective. But you have to remember that an FP, I want to say one, but the only free practice session we had this weekend, he didn't have a very clean run, right? He didn't get to test out that soft tyre, so he kind of came into sprint qualifying kind of on the back foot. So there is an element of that. Also, everybody getting used to their upgrades and everything that they've brought this weekend. So it's just ironing out the small things, but he just looks so confident in the car. I mean, he doesn't have a lack of speed, does he?
He did, and, you know, it's a 6/10 switch around from Lando being quickest in sprint qualifying to Kimi being quickest. 6/10. That's an unbelievable amount of lap time. You try and find 6/10 in a Formula One car with aerodynamics. It takes a long time. Well, you probably couldn't at all, but the teams, I mean.
Right, yeah.
So no, it's impressive, and it's really interesting, and it'd be nice to try and understand why that is from Toto, hopefully.
Well, I'd like to also know what happened from McLaren's perspective there as well. I just wonder if there was a slight issue, and they said on the software on Oscar's thing, and then I wonder if that had crossed over to Lando's. We are waiting for Toto Wolff, but whilst we do, let's go to the Sky Pad, because Karun's there to have a look at that pole out.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, let's have a look at it. This is Kimi Antonelli on the left, Max Verstappen there on the right. And this first sector lap, let's go into turn 1. You see, Antonelli has a couple of bites before he gets into the apex, but does get it hooked up really well there and launches himself out. But Verstappen actually does a great job of getting good drive. So when we get on the run down to turn 3, and I'll just move along here to the 50-meter bore, you can see Antonelli has gained, just really, really impressive. And the high-speed balance, I have to say, both cars looking very good. If we look at the track usage here, on the way out of 6 and into 8, Antonelli, we saw it yesterday, Jensen and I were looking at it, he is more comfortable taking that wider line. If we just use the curb as a reference, you can see he's pulled quite a margin on Verstappen in that early part of the lap. So a big advantage there for the Mercedes driver. Down the back straight, both drivers pushing hard, using the battery because they know they could reach out turn 11. And we've talked a lot about the Red Bull upgrades and what Verstappen's done. We have to say, hats off to Red Bull powertrains. It's a brand new engine, only their 4th ever weekend in Formula One as an engine manufacturer. And I'll tell you what, you look at the reference of that curb, he's pulled some back. So there is nothing wrong with that Red Bull powertrain engine. Really well done to them. We haven't really given them enough credit, I think. Round turn 12, a little bit of camera break up there for Max. Let's watch as they bounce over the curves off the chicane. Verstappen, I'll just go back a little bit here. Just watch Max there, just how close he is to the wall on the outside on the way in. He's definitely using a bit more weight, just opening up the entry, and then gets a better line, I think, over that first part of the curve. But Antonelli does get it hooked up into the apex of 16 well enough to open up the wheel and launch himself onto the back straight. They're fairly similar, though. That is the middle sector of the lap, and there's really nothing to choose between them. If anything, Verstappen has pulled a little bit back on what he lost in Sector 1. As we get down to the final braking zone here, this is where lots of drivers, with this wind, we're finding a bit unpredictable. Even standing here, you can feel it's gusting. Antonelli gets into the curb there. Verstappen a little bit tighter on the way into it, and he gets a snap of oversteer. So although I think he kept a little bit more battery in reserve for that final straight, he struggled to put the power down, had a few snaps of oversteer that maybe cost him a bit. But on the whole, it was Sector 1 that we saw where the advantage was for Antonelli, and that just carried on for the rest of the lap. Back to you.
Yeah, I actually can feel the wind funneling down here at the back of the paddock, and certainly down at turn 11, as Crofty was saying in commentary, getting sort of 25 km/h gusts. And I wonder if that was also a factor today in catching a few of these guys out. at awkward moments.
Yeah, we felt it in the sort of in this tunnel area that we have here in the paddock earlier on, that the wind has clearly picked up a lot. Even right now, it just feels a little bit intense out there. I don't know if that's the beginning of the rain coming in overnight, but we have got that to talk about a little bit later. It's tricky out there for the drivers when the wind changes like that, especially from one session to another. But I don't know how much of it came down to that. What was interesting there was to see that actually he made up all of his time in Sector 1, which is exactly where he had lost it in SQ1, so in SQ, I should say.
Here's Toto. Congratulations, Toto. Let's start with the headline, obviously, Kimi. Another one. Every week, as I was saying, the narrative seems to be changing on him, because you look at the drivers that were trailing in his wake. Until Max got within a tenth and a half, he was 4/10 clear of Verstappen, Leclerc, Norris and his teammate George Russell. That's quite a special lap, wasn't it?
Yeah, that first lap was really special, because, as you say, he was 3 or more tenths ahead of the next guy. Spectacular, and that made the pole. But then it was a Kimi. You know, we are having confidence, and then we are over pushing it. But that's how he is, you know. It's already an improvement, because in the past it would end up in a wall. Now it's just a missed lap, but he's just showing his speed, and that's really, really nice to see.
And as you say, he doesn't have a lack of speed. It's been impressive to see him put those laps together. But Toto, obviously you trusted in Kimi, right? You brought him into Formula One. You saw that he had this potential. Last year wasn't that easy. Things are looking much better now, aren't they?
Yeah, maybe before I answer to that, a word to George also. You know, George said to me that there is drivers who struggle with certain tracks, and you will know that. And here the asphalt is very smooth, and it's almost like a player that is good on clay, and another one that is better on a hard surface. But through qualifying, he made it up in the times, and it's just a smidge missing to be free. So I'm really happy also to see that his development over qualifying on a track that he's not 100% comfortable. As you know, trusting in Kimi, you can look like a fool, or you can look well. I think that the junior program that we are doing is quite diligent, and you look at his junior trajectory, you know, from mini karts all the way to F2. You see the pace and you see the speed, and then it just needs the development, and we've given him that last year to make mistakes, and there's more to come. But I think he has good speed character traits.
Yeah, the raw ability is definitely there, and it's really exciting to watch. But I think you guys need to take some of the credit as well for the improvements you've made from sprint qualifying. The first sector was an area that you were weak compared to McLaren in sprint qualifying, but today that was your strong point. Was there a lot of learning that went on overnight to really understand deployment? And
yeah, the team made a mistake. All of us, we were scratching our heads because he
was in the sim overnight helping you with that conundrum you were saying. But actually, when you looked at it from an independent perspective, watching that qualifying, at times we were trying to scratch our heads as to where the McLaren pace went and why certain drivers were where they were at any point. What does it come down to? Why is there quite a lot of variability going on, particularly at this track this weekend?
Yeah, it's interesting because also Max was not competitive in the sessions before, and suddenly he was a pole contender. We don't know. I think it's the learning over the weekend, the learning of these new cars, the ones who brought upgrades, how to tune them, the engine and energy management, and that's why some have advanced, some have gone backwards.
As you say, Toto, some of the teams, particularly Ferrari, McLaren, have brought a lot of upgrades this weekend. You guys much less. I know we're expecting them for Canada, I think it is. How much do you think that they've closed up, though, to where you guys expect to be? And have they impressed you this weekend in a way that maybe you didn't want to be impressed?
You said the Cadillacs.
No, I didn't say Cadillac.
Oh, okay.
I said McLaren and Ferrari.
McLaren and Ferrari. That was less impressive. But the McLarens and Ferrari, they put some really good upgrades on the car, and yesterday we were like, wow, okay, we probably can't match that because our upgrades are out of sequence. So tomorrow is going to be difficult, it's clear. We're hoping for the upgrade to kick in Montreal. This is where we are bringing lots of parts, and we expected something like this.
I know you've got to go very, very quickly. It looks like rain tomorrow, but I'm quite looking forward to seeing the last person that came into the sport with a reputation like Kimi Antonelli was Max Verstappen. Kind of like master apprentice, a little bit like that on the front road tomorrow. That'll be interesting to see with Kimi's starts and the struggles he's had a little bit so far.
So Kimi's the start today in the sprint race, that wasn't his mistake. It was a grip calibration issue where we got it wrong as a team. So he was bang on target. As for the weather tomorrow, you know, I love rain. It shows who can drive and not. Sometimes there's a bit of variability in the race, so we're up for it.
Thanks, Toto. Well played. See you tomorrow. What a great performance by Kimi Antonelli, but a few head-scratching moments for McLaren. Let's hear from both of their drivers.
Hi, Lando. Your time yesterday for pole in the sprint, 3/10 off today's time. Can you just tell us why the car was so different today? What was it feeling like, or you don't know?
No, I'm not too sure. I mean, there are little things like it was probably a bit windier and the direction was a little bit different, temperatures, but same for everyone, right? So I think both cars clearly struggled a bit more than yesterday, and we need to understand why. At the same time, it's not like I think we did a bad job. I think other people they did a pretty bad job yesterday, and today they just did the job that they should have done. And I said it yesterday already, like Mercedes were just as quick as us. When you look at the GPS from Ferrari and Red Bull, there's many places they're quicker than us, you know. So I think we just did a very, very good job yesterday, and I did a good job yesterday, and we did a good job this morning to win the race. Today is really just a little reality check, but it's more where we just deserve to be and where we should be, honestly. So I think we're all surprised how quick we were yesterday. But I think it was more because we did a good job, others didn't, and today was a little bit more the other way around. But it's not like we did a bad job. I think we just struggled a little bit.
Doesn't look like everyone's closed up. Do you need the rain tomorrow for the win? Can you still do something at the start? What are your thoughts on the prospects for it?
We'll see. I mean, we have had good starts, but Ferraris have also had probably the best starts in general. So I would like it to be dry. It would just keep it more straightforward. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge for everyone, you know, in the rain, in the wet conditions. So both are opportunities. Both we have chances to go forwards. I think the Mercedes should probably just clear off of Kimi, but hopefully we can have a bit of a race with some of the guys around us.
Thank you very much. Hi, Oscar. That last run, you had the fastest middle sector, but then your first and thirds weren't there. How tricky was it out there for you in the car, and were conditions changing at all?
It was a bit tough. Yeah, I mean, it was just very variable from a lot of things. Wind, track conditions, what the power unit wants to do. It was, yeah, all a little bit random. So not the smoothest of sessions, especially the last lap of Q3. Yeah, did what I thought was a good job through turn 4, 5, and 6, and then something weird happened, and that's why my middle sector was so good, because I lost a whole bunch of time with a super clip when I didn't expect it, and then had more energy on the back straight, so that's why that looks so good.
What's the prospect for tomorrow then? I mean, obviously you have great starts. What's the target? It does look like you've caught up to Mercedes essentially, but then when a lap like that goes in from Kimi, what can you do in the race to try and take the win?
I think probably build some oars first.
Your forecast is a lot of rain.
I don't know, to be honest, I've not looked. Everyone's spoken about it the whole weekend, so I'm just going to roll with that. But we'll see what we get. I think, you know, if it is wet, that's going to obviously throw in a lot of spanners in the works, because no one's really driven these cars in the rain, and no one really knows what they're going to do. So, yeah, hopefully we're on the right side of that.
Well, your race engineer knows all about winning with oars, so maybe that's in your favour.
Exactly, yes.
Well, Andrea, it's a funny old world, Formula One, isn't it? Just explain to people watching how they can see a McLaren 1-2 in a sprint race, and then later in the day, maybe not the result you wanted in qualifying.
Well, I think we said already yesterday after the sprint qualifying, where we were in pole position, that actually multiple cars could have been in pole position, because we had Mercedes that struggled a bit with deployment, I think. Leclerc made a couple of mistakes. So actually, the reality is that because of the combination of the upgrades and track characteristics, I think the four teams are very close. And it's more about execution. Today, the conditions were different to yesterday. The wind was very different. We had a few things to manage with the power unit consistency. and the drivers need to find their rhythm, and it looks like some other teams have been better than us from this point of view. So I think the reality is that the teams are very close, and it's more up to the execution. I think for Formula One this is very good news. That's some entertaining racing ahead of us.
Well, if we turn to the race finally, any thoughts on tomorrow? I think we're going to be looking at the weather radar. There'll be some localized thunderstorms maybe that we can look to avoid.
Yes, the conditions at the moment look like they will be wet at some stage, but it's thunders, so difficult to say when and how. So this can create for an eventful race, I would say. We just have to be, adapt to the condition, be responsive, usual basics of racing in unpredictable situations, looking at the weather. And like I say, I think we look forward to an exciting race.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Andrea.
Just a quick update on that. We understand there is a meeting, F1 and FIA, in about an hour and a half's time. So that's 7 o'clock local, to decide on whether to bring the race forward. I mean, I think the issue is this year. We can get into actually all the changes in the regulations after the break about what happens in wet weather conditions. But if there are scattered thunderstorms, if there's one within 8 miles of the track, it's an immediate red flag. And that is the issue. It could be very stop-start, and it could actually get timed out if we keep on having to have those, and all the marshals have to get bussed back, by the way, to the track if there's thunder around, etc., etc. So there's a lot. Yeah, it's going to be complicated.
So they might be moving.
But they might move the race forward.
Okay.
That's the thing. So, but it depends when the thunderstorms come in. Top 7, everybody else improved. It was about 0.3 for most of them, apart from Max, who was half a second better than in SQ3. However, it wasn't for the McLaren boys. It was 0.3 worse. That's the issue. I mean, did they just stick with it, think, hey, as we said, it's kind of saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The others fixed it.
Well, they didn't have an issue, did they, in SQ1? They're saying that that's as quick as they went, and other people didn't really get their laps together. So, yeah, it's a big shift. It's 0.6 compared to Kimi, Lando's lap time. So that's a lot to lose in a session. But, they did the best they can, they think, today in qualifying. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
I like what Andrea Stella is saying, though. He's been extremely positive about where we are now, in that maybe it's not going to be all Mercedes domination, although there's the clues there that they've still got a big upgrade in Montreal, but we could get some fantastic racing this year, which is what we all want.
Well, we're in race 4, and we've already got the top 5 within less than 0.4 of a second. So to have multiple different names in it, I mean, that session we didn't know who was going to come out on top, and all of a sudden you've got Max on the front row. So things are constantly changing, which is exciting.
And that's who we'll talk. Oh.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
No, you finish.
No, you finish.
Go to the break.
Go to the break.
Should we go to the break?
Go to the break.
Okay, we're running out of time. So let's go to the break.
Hi, Lewis. Did the team manage to get the software issue fixed for you?
Yeah, the car was much better in qualifying, so I don't think we had any power issues. That was the best that it's been this weekend. And we changed the car, and I was much happier with it. I wish I started the weekend with that balance. Q2 was looking really solid, and then when I got to Q3, I just struggled to extract the most from it.
I think a lot of people struggled in Q3. I don't know whether conditions changed a lot for people or anything, but in terms of the upgrades that the team have brought here this weekend, do you feel they've worked, the team knows the direction now? Is there a case of leaving here with a bit more confidence, perhaps? That
I don't know if it is leaving with more confidence. I think the rest of the team did a great job to bring upgrades. They worked so hard, so I'm incredibly grateful for that. I think clearly the other teams are doing different things with their car in terms of development, and so we need to look into that. We're still losing a bit on the straights, but I think we improved a lot in this session. And before this weekend, we knew that we were like 4 to 5 tenths down on straights, so I don't know if that's the same here this weekend. But yeah, I feel like we took a step forward. It doesn't show in my result, but I'm optimistic for tomorrow.
Good, thanks.
Optimistic, and particularly optimistic if you can get off to another good start. That's their strengths. They've got to play to them, even in the wet.
Yes, but well, that's the thing. I mean, too much talk off the line. It's a recipe for a lot of wheel spin. Yeah. So I think it's going to be, if it does rain and it's going to be wet out there, I think it is going to be a very interesting, challenging set of events for the drivers, because that kind of power, more so than they've had before, especially on torque, is difficult to deal with in the rain. It's really tough.
Unless it's a safety car, which it probably will be.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's a very good point, Jensen.
There's a number of things that they have to, well, they're going to have to change. They're not going to be used to driving in the wet. I mean, I should imagine utterly terrifying.
Oh yeah, the
with
amount
that
of
amount
power.
of torque you're going to have underneath you.
Yeah, immediate torque from the 500 horsepower electric motor. So yeah, it's a lot of power, and trying to control that under your foot. I know they have an
no boost.
Yeah, but they have an unbelievably long throttle. I don't mean the starts. I mean just driving in the race. Unbelievably long throttle pedal to try and control that. But still, it's very, very difficult if you're on and off the throttle to control that. So I'm looking forward to watching it. I'm sure the drivers are a little bit worried.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with regards to closing speeds, I mean, actually, Charles was asked about this when it came into the weekend, because there was that possibility just in the background about it, and he was like, we're just going to have to go out there and see what happens. I think that's the thing. It's a proper step into the unknown.
It is, and it's a tricky, I mean, if it would have happened in free practice or even the sprint earlier today, I think the stakes would have been obviously a lot lower, whereas tomorrow you've got a lot of points on the table, and, you know, it's not exactly a situation where drivers are just going to take it easy and see how it goes, but it is about getting to the finish line, so they might just be experimenting out there in the beginning, but it is, honestly, it's one of those days as a driver where you prefer to be in the hospitality.
Yeah, and the closing speeds, I hope we don't have the closing speeds, because in the dry you can see the car in front, in the wet you can't see the car in front, so closing speeds of 40 kilometers an hour, it's very big. Hopefully with the wet weather driving, they're driving slower, so they don't need as much energy, so they're not going to run out, I hope, or it could be the other way around because they're braking less.
Okay, let's hear from George Russell. He'll start from 5th tomorrow, talking with Karun.
Hi, guys. George, it looks like it's been a bit of a tricky weekend for you, sort of 3-4 tenths behind Kimi. What's the feeling like for you in the cockpit?
I just struggle on these low grip circuits, to be honest, like here, Zandvoort, Brazil, where...
Sorry, excuse me, we're live. Thank you.
He wanted a photo with you there. And it was the same last year, you know, he was on pole last year, I was P5, so it's something I do want to work on, but I would say there's probably 3 tracks from the 24 that are real outliers for me, and Miami's definitely top of that list.
So this is a weekend of, is it damage limitation for you? Because obviously the others have gotten more competitive, so I guess in the early part of the season, at worst you're going to be second. Now you're looking at 5th and 6th. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm not really thinking damage limitation, or I'm just going out there to maximize the result, and that was the same this morning. Tomorrow is a totally different day, weather on the radar, and we saw again with the race starts, you know, suddenly, you know, everything can change in that first couple of 100 meters. So
yours look great.
Yeah, we actually, I mean, it's great having a good start from P6. I would have liked that when I was on the front row in the last couple of races. So, yeah, as I said, we're just not really I'm not really in a great groove at the moment, but, you know, it's still really early days. This is a weak track for me, and just looking forward to getting to some tracks where I know I sort of excel, and, long old year.
Can you pinpoint, is it in the high speed, is it slow speed, braking entry? Like, is there an area? Because you sort of narrowed down to the low grip circuits. Yeah. Now, which part of it do you think is the weakness?
I would say it's just, I'm like quite a smooth, precise driver, and that's always been my style. And on these tracks, you just got to be happy with the car just sliding. And it's not, like, I like the car on the edge, but this is like you've got a set of 200 lap hole tires on your car, and you go around and it's just sliding, understeering, oversteering. That's the same for everybody, for what it's worth. You know, it's so hot, tire pressures are high, the grip's really low, so it doesn't actually feel that pleasant. Whereas you go to tracks like Saudi, and the grip's super high, and it feels mega to drive, and that's where It
sounds like Oscar and Lando. This is what Oscar's saying. He's super smooth and struggle with the low grip track. So at least you know where it is. So hopefully tomorrow, with the weather, well, who knows what the weather will do, but
sure.
I'll go better. I can hear someone beeping the horn. You got to go.
Cheers.
Thank you for your time.
Kimi Antonelli, Ayrton Senna, and Michael Schumacher. First 3 poles all consecutively. That's quite a good list to be on. Tell me how you did it, because while others struggled with the sliding today, you seem to use it as part of your flow for your lap.
Yeah, it was. It hasn't been easy this weekend. Very hot, track very slippery, and also this track is not easy to put all the sectors together. So I think I was happy with my lap. Maybe there was a little bit more on the table, but we don't know because I didn't even do one corner. But I'm happy with the performance, especially this weekend where with the others bringing big upgrades, it has been a bit more difficult for us, but the team did a tremendous job.
I'm not going to ask you about starts, but I will ask you about the rain. Does that go in your favour potentially if then it is a wet start tomorrow? That takes that element out of it for you? Do you want the rain?
Well, I mean, if it's a rolling start, definitely we will take that element out of the way. But yeah, let's see. I mean, obviously it's meant to be raining a lot, so let's see also with timings what's going to happen. Hopefully we're going to be able to find the best timing in order not to have crazy conditions, but for sure it's going to be slippery tomorrow in the wet, if there is any, and it's not going to be easy also because everyone has so little experience. Some of us even don't have any experience on the wet, so it's going to be quite a new challenge for everyone.
Take a job. Well done.
Chenza, can you empathise with George this weekend? Because Toto's talked about it. George has talked about it himself. I'm precise. He's more... Were you sort of... Would you like yourself more to George than these young tearaways like Kimi that just throw it around and all that sort of stuff on these low-grip circuits?
Definitely more George. You know, when you're a precision driver, it's really difficult when you find yourself sliding into a corner and you can't pick out the apex as you want or the exit. So yeah, I would definitely be more on George's side, and I think maybe Oscar as well. And we're seeing that a little bit with him and Lando this weekend, the difference there.
We said it actually, you know, coming up through the junior formula, that he was more of a conservative, if you like, than a liberal out there in a car, and that he wouldn't take unnecessary risks, and he's trying to add to that as he's now stepping up and going for championships. I wonder, you know, if this continues, and we're seeing this from Kimi at every track, and then we get to places like Zandvoort, we'll get to places like Interlagos, but he has one at Interlagos, whether he's going to have to just try to change his style to keep up on days like this.
Well, for sure. I mean, the worst thing you see is your teammate, you know, making more of a gap, going out every session and being quicker than him, and regardless of whether it's a driving style thing or not, at the end of the day, if he ends up in a head-to-head battle with his teammate, he's got to be better than him every time he goes out there. So, you know, but it might swing around again, but obviously he's going to be irritated by that. Look, George, I think, is a great driver, and I think he's not going to love the situation, but it also is a long season ahead. He's got consistency on his side. I mean, he's obviously not got the ultimate pace this weekend, but he's always there. He's always going to score the points. As you say, he's slightly more conservative, and sometimes that's just how you score more points as well.
And it's also worse here because there are other teams that are competitive. So he's got the McLarens in front, he's got Ferraris, he's got, you know, it's tough, and even Max in a Red Bull. So that's a bigger issue. If you're a couple of tenths off your teammate, that's an issue when there's so many cars that are competitive.
Okay, I promised you Max Verstappen, and we didn't deliver, but we will deliver after the break, because there is Max Verstappen talking with Rachel.
Hi, Max. If I'd said to you in Japan you'll be a tenth and a half off Mercedes pole by the time you came here, would you have believed us?
I would have told you completely crazy.
You wouldn't be the first person to have said that to me, I can tell you that.
Yeah, but it's an incredible turnaround for us. It's two things probably. I mean, I really didn't feel in control of the car up until this weekend. I didn't know what was going to happen with it. So the team has brought, of course, a really good performance upgrade to the car, made the car also much more drivable for me. It really clicked. As soon as I jumped in the car here, it just felt great. Or a lot better, and for us still to be on the front row is a bit of a surprise, but we take it, and I think it's also a massive boost for the whole team that it is at least like heading into the right direction.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, so to find a direction to take on these cars this year with these regs must be a really confidence boosting for everybody, but when you are alongside Kimi on the front row tomorrow, the opportunity for you to get into the lead.
I've not had really good starts yet, so let's see. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Max.
Well, Laura, well done. The car has clearly taken a step forward. Can you explain the hard work everybody in Milton Keynes has managed to do that coming here to Miami?
They've been amazing. Once again, we left from Japan, I'm sure you recall, and we knew we had some pretty serious homework to do in terms of getting to the true understanding of the serious limitations we had. Max Isaacs were not having something they could push with, regardless of where the competition was related to us. So there have been some amazing piece of work done at 360 degrees in Milton Keynes, chassis side, PU side, to get to the bottom of what was limiting us. We don't think we have fixed everything, but we are certainly heading into the right directions based on what we can see this weekend.
Okay, and it was very close today. Do you think maybe you could have got pole?
You know, when you are within 1/10, you know, of course, you look at it and you say you could have been fighting for pole. I think, you know, Max was up there in Q1, in Q2, and in Q3. So, yeah, it's getting pretty tight.
Okay, and just finally, your rear wing has captured the imagination of everybody. People who've watched Formula One for years have never seen anything like it. Tell us a little bit about it. They call it the Maxarena wing. How much drag does it actually drop? Is it really effective, particularly effective here in Miami? And was it a copy of the Ferrari, or did you have the idea before, maybe at the same time as they did?
Look, what I can tell you for sure is that the guys invented it without having seen the Ferrari wing. So, you know, I'm not going to tell you who has invented it first, because we will never know. But what I can tell you is that they certainly invented our wing independently of what the other guys have done, because it was far before. It was actually at the end of last year that we started to work on this wing. We had a fairly troubled start of the season, and we had to drop a little bit the priority, and the wings made it only here, but it's an amazing piece of kit.
It certainly is. Okay, thank you very much, Laurent.
Hell of a difference in demeanour for Max Verstappen.
I mean, like a completely different Max Verstappen. We haven't seen him with a smile on his face all year. But you can understand why. Can you hear me? Because I can't hear myself.
No,
okay. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. As long as Simon can hear me, that's all that matters. Yeah, look, he's been calling for some change. He's been very vocal about the fact that he was unhappy with, you know, some of the sets of the regulation, but also just the performance of the car. And they've done a lot of tweaks to the car this weekend, loads of upgrades on that car, including what I've now learned they're calling the Maxarena, and it seems to be working for him. So, well, Ted's just said that.
That's the thing. So, yeah, that's the thing.
I don't know if Ted came up with that.
Locked in. Very quickly, how concerned are you for Isaac Hadjar? This was as close to flat-out qualifying as we've had so far this season. The difference between them, 9/10. In the past, when they've been managing qualifying, it's been a different story. Can we read anything into that?
You can read into 8/10. It's a lot of lap time. But from what Laurent said, he's not really had the balance all weekend, and I don't know if they are finding the aero package is not exactly the same. I don't know, but it's a tough one for him. We know his speed is there. It's just when you're up against Max, it gets a little bit more difficult, doesn't it?
Okay, the Alpines, both of them inside the top 10, in the same positions as they were at the end of sprint qualifying. Let's start with Pierre Gasly in 10th, Colapinto in 8th.
Hi, Pierre. Everyone seems to have a very similar qualifying position to what they had for the sprint, but you did move up places in that sprint. What's the prospect for tomorrow? If it's a straightforward race, I know there's rain around.
Hopefully it rains and it's a complete chaos.
Is that your best opportunity to get some good points, do you think?
I mean, we've seen, I mean, the top 4 is too fast in race stream, so I think we're fighting between 8 and 10. I think we've been clear of the midfields this weekend on this track, so it's quite positive. Yeah, so I think we'll try to go for that. I think overall I'm quite disappointed on my side. The whole weekend's been pretty messy and struggling with something on the car, which we can't really get to the bottom of at the moment. So I think there'll be quite a lot of digging to do before Canada, but this is what we have for tomorrow, and yeah, I'm still hopeful we can score points.
Thank you.
Another P8 in qualifying.
Yeah.
So tell me, how do you turn the P8 now into a P8 or better tomorrow and not drop back?
We'll try. I think today was really obvious the amount of day that we had on the rear, and of course after the contact with Max in the start, I fall back I lost those 2 places, and then was really tricky in the dirty air. So I think just do all the basics right, and we'll have a good race. I'm confident that the car is quick. Of course, at rear day is worse. With my old rear wing, it is a little bit punishing, I think, especially in the race, because you slide so much on the rear that any extra bit of downforce is really helpful, and you take it with both hands. But it is what it is. I think we had a really solid weekend so far, and I'm really proud of the team to have a double Q3 for Alpine yesterday, today again, it's just showing the effort that everyone has been doing is paying us back, and yeah, I'm really proud. Of course, tomorrow we need to finish the job, but it's good to show how good the car is.
Well, he seems like a different driver over the last couple of races than we've seen, and it's so often the case, isn't it? After one season, when you come back, you've got your feet under the desk, and you can be a different driver.
Yes, you could be. I mean, the car's also very different this year, so there's a possibility that it might suit him more. I mean, obviously, Pierre's still really quick. We've been complimenting him all weekend long already. But for Colapinto, yeah, he's been here a little bit longer. He's finding his feet. But yeah, who knows? Let's see what it really does tomorrow.
Got a big feature with him tomorrow, but let's just go back to the rain possibilities before we go in, because there are a number of things that will change tomorrow because of the rules and regulations. No boost, saying fixed power maps, straight line mode is restricted. Looks like the rear wing won't open, so we might not get to see the Macarena or the Max Arena tomorrow. But these are all safety precautions because, as we said, and we keep coming back to, this is an entirely new era and entirely, well, a step into the unknown. It could be tomorrow.
Yeah, so no, I think it's the right thing. Both front and rear wings will be completely closed, so we'll have as much downforce as we can. The only issue with that is you're going slower in a straight line, so you're at full power for longer. Really, so recharge will be difficult. So there's a lot of things for them to learn, and I'm excited about seeing that if it rains.
Yeah, if it rains, but let's say that it does. We know who's particularly good in the rain. That's Max Verstappen. Can't wait to see Kimi Antonelli in the rain up against him at the front of the grid.
Well, I mean, yes, obviously Max is incredible in the rain, but if you think back to Australia last year in those treacherous conditions, Antonelli making his way back to the front, I think he pretty much enjoys those conditions too. But of course, it's going to be tough with Max just behind him.
Impossible to pick a winner, but we've got all the ingredients there, haven't we? I think if this weekend has taught us anything so far, is that it could be an exciting year, 2026.
Yeah, this has been a great weekend so far. I've loved it, and seeing the fight between different drivers for the sprint pole and for the actual qualifying session, it's awesome. Looking forward to the race.
Thanks both. Keep your fingers crossed for tomorrow.